Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of the Double Your Production Podcast. I'm Dr. John Meis with my partner, Wendy Briggs. And Wendy, we've got a guest with us today.
We do. I am so excited about today's episode. It's going to be an amazing, amazing conversation.
Hi, Dr. Meis. Wendy, nice to be on the podcast with you all. I'm looking very forward to our conversation. Thank you for the invitation.
Very
Absolutely.
good. So Wendy and I met Jim some time ago, roughly 12 years ago, something like that.
That's about right.
And Jim's a lifer in dentistry. He's worked in various positions with various companies supporting dentists and their teams, and has a tremendous amount of experience, a tremendous amount of knowledge. He's one of those people that is very observant, and because he's been in, probably 1,000 practices, he's seen the good and the bad and the ugly. And because he's so good at observing, he's been able to see the things that make practices excel, and he's seen the things that makes practices not reach their potential. And so Jim, we met Jim when he was working at Henry Shein. He was the director of sales and leadership development there. And Wendy and I were part of their team for a while as outside partners and helping to help their people develop their skills and the communication skills working with dentists. So that's how we met. And Wendy and I are so fortunate because Jim has joined the TTI team. And he brings such a wealth of knowledge and experience that we are so excited to have you on board, Jim.
Well, thanks, Dr. Meis. I'm very, very excited to be here. Very excited. And you're right. It was about 10 to 12 years ago. And I was part of running our advanced continuing education courses that we ran for our, at the time, 1,200 sales representatives throughout the United States. And, it was on the business of dentistry, right? We weren't trying to make all of our dental consultants, dental sales reps consultants, but we certainly wanted to be more consultative. And Team Training Institute was an integral part of that. It was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun, and we met an awful lot of really fantastic people. And your area of the company was so well organized and just a well-oiled machine, and it was always a pleasure to work with you. So this episode is the beginning of our pre-summit series. So every year, the Team Training Institute has our Champions of Dentistry Summit. It's a big meeting with lots of speakers, with lots of fun, with lots of information. And Jim is going to be one of our speakers. So the next few podcasts are going to be introducing some of the speakers and content people there. So you'll get an idea when you hear the quality of people that are going to be speaking at our summit, why it would be really important to be there if you have a bigger future in mind for your practice, for yourself, and for your team.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Dr. John and Jim both, we had invited Jim Philhower to be one of our speakers before he joined the TTI team. So we are so excited to give you a little glimpse into what's coming your way if you're planning on attending the summit. And again, Jim, you've spoken a lot in your career, right? We've shared the stage many times with you as we were speaking to dentists and their teams all across North America, really. And so we had invited you to speak and share some of your insights with our members at our summit. Our summit theme this year is on unlocking the magic in your practice. And so interestingly enough, as things would have it, as we started that conversation about having you speak at our summit, then we had a deeper conversation about what would it look like if you joined our team. So I want our listeners to know that we had already invited Jim to speak at our summit before he joined the team, but we are even more delighted that now you'll get to hear more of Jim as we go forward, certainly. But because the theme of the summit really is on all things patient experience, how we can be more connected with our patients, how we can deliver a remarkable experience day in and day out, I think your topic that you're going to be sharing with us at the summit fits right in with that, and people are going to be delighted to hear more from you.
Well, I appreciate that, Wendy, and I am very grateful for the speaking events prior to me joining TTI as a team member, and now certainly grateful to be a part of such a wonderful team and such a wonderful culture. That's for sure, absolutely. And I'm excited for my opportunity to deliver our topic of is that the best you can do? Life lessons of hope and inspiration. There's a lot of things that I could talk about on the business of dentistry and increasing profitability and lowering overhead and reducing PPO reduction, internal marketing, and all those things. But at the end of the day, moving forward as servant leadership, as the opportunity to serve other people a little better, extending more gratitude and being grateful are life lessons that we can all do a little bit better on. And a great deal of that, where that comes from, was life lessons from my son. Cole, my son and only child, graduated high school here in Wisconsin at June of 2014. And 2.5 weeks later, Cole tragically was killed in a car accident 2.5 years after that. And it was more than devastating to myself and certainly his mother. We were incredibly bonded. I've lived vicariously through Cole. There's no doubt about that. And you can find some spots in your life where you don't know. So it can be a pretty dark spot. And it certainly was for me for a long period of time. And you can make some choices in life. What are you going to do? Are you going to move forward or not? You're going to move forward. What's that going to look like? So the title of Cole's book is that the best you can do, which just simply comes from the fact that for discipline, that's all I ever had to do. Cole would say, is that all you could do? Is that the best you got? You can. Sometimes I was just teasing him because he forgot to take the laundry out of the dryer. Other times I was serious about that. And that's the title of Cole's book. And it just comes down to life lessons, like I said, of hope, inspiration. It's about being a servant leader. It's about giving back. It's not what you can take in life. It's what you can give. It's about being a good teammate. It's about being a part of a team. It's about being part of something bigger than yourself. All which applies to certainly our personal lives and our dental practices for sure.
Absolutely. We always talk about dentistry is a team sport, and that's why we have team in the name of our company. We spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to do that. And I think it's one of the things that differentiates our company from others that serve the dental industry in a similar way, is that we really focus on, the entire team, doctors, hygienists, assistants, business assistants, whatever the role is, we want to see all those people develop. And, often if you just focus on the doctor has the heavy lifting to try to bring that back to the team, and they get all kinds of resistance from the team. But if the team is part of the process, it just goes so much faster, so much easier, and the end result is so much better. So when you talk about teamwork, tell us some of the lessons on that really have stood out to you in your experiences, both with your son and his experiences, but also what you've seen in our industry.
Well, I would agree, Dr. John, 100%. And in fact, I like to say that collectively in all the offices I've been in, and you're right, it's been in more than 1,000 dental offices without any exaggeration that I've had the privilege of being in. Collectively, the team has more impact collectively on the patient experience and in the experience of the practice than the doctor does. It is amazing. And most offices don't. I think one of the biggest mistakes for that team building and the leadership part of it is the the owner doesn't take as much time as they could in terms of developing the team around what that looks like. And I think that goes back to servant leadership. It goes back to the leader being a part of the team and character. And it's the do-say ratio, right? Do you do what you say you're going to do? Do you follow through? Do you stay committed to your commitments? Because the team will be committed to your commitments and what you do and what you show and how that looks like. Whether it's showing up on time to your morning huddles, making sure the monthly team meetings are organized. You don't have to run them and lead them all, but you certainly need to be there and be a part of it. It doesn't take much, just a little bit of effort and conscious thought process in what you're doing. But it works in our professional lives, and it certainly works in our personal lives as well.
Yeah, I love that, Jim. And I love the title that you chose for your book, to pay tribute to Cole and to share. As you mentioned, I can't imagine losing a child. I can't imagine what that must have been like. I do know that collectively the dental community mourned with you. We were heartbroken for you. in that moment. I can remember that. And I know we weren't super close, we worked together, but I remember shedding tears for you, because it is such a heartbreaking thing to go through. And certainly, like you said, you have a choice in that moment. And the fact that you've chosen to embrace the lessons and share his legacy with others, I think is really commendable. And I think some of the lessons that you've chosen, is that the best you can do, really motivates and inspires all of us to really reflect on our personal performance. Now, we always talk about how dentistry should be fun. Dr. John mentions it's not fun in every moment of every day. And that's really when we have decisions to make too, right? In those moments where it doesn't feel like a lot of fun, how are we going to show up? What are we going to do to lead our team forward? And I think, especially right now, from my perspective, being a hygienist, in our climate, it's really, really challenging, right? We have hygienists that have chosen to maybe hold their doctors hostage or become very demanding because of the situation of the job market. I just got a phone call this morning from one of our coaches that's saying, hey, this is becoming a real problem. Hygienists are just making a choice not to be part of the team, but to separate themselves and ask for, we don't want to have to do one evening every 6 weeks. We don't want to have to show up for our team because we are in high demand right now. So we can get away with this bad behavior, if you will. I think we always have those opportunities for decision. So what I'd like to do real quick is have you maybe share an experience or a lesson where you've seen practices take some of these lessons that you're talking about, these leadership lessons, and apply them for the positive.
Good question, Wendy. I would say one thing too to any team member, whether it's the hygienist or whether it's the office manager, but specifically to your point now about the hygienist, that won't hold you in good stead in your life. That's not gonna. The world tends to give you back exactly what you put out, and it does. And if you're going to, if you're going to get ahead in life, and I don't always mean monetarily get ahead in life, but just to have to Dr. John's point, there are always going to be great days, but we're going to need to get through that as a team. And within that, I think service is the rent we pay for living on this earth. I really do. And within that servant leadership and giving back, things end up working out for you, whether it's monetarily, whether it's a team you want to work for, but it's the gratification of that. And so those lessons, compound into the team, into the dental team. And the leadership, the practice owners, primarily the doctors in a lot of cases, but in some others, other business owners of those practices need to be a part of that team, need to be a part of what they're doing and a part of that team. So those lessons hold true for the team in our personal lives as well. And the teams that are there, when that happens, it affects everything: internal referrals, case acceptance, the entire patient experience. And I would tell you, the 1,000+ dental offices that I've had the privilege of being in, there were times I walked into the office, whether it was in the front door, the lobby, into the reception room, or in the back door in the team entrance. There were offices that you walked into, you just felt like it was home. It felt comfortable, and the attitude for the team was right there. And there were offices that you walked into and you could cut the tension with a knife. It was just there. What does that do to case acceptance? What does that do for the internal patient referrals? It's crippling in many, many cases. And meanwhile, then and if I ask any dentists and the team members, who's your best new patient, I don't get that out of my mouth without them saying a patient referral.
Yeah.
From a top 20% patient, from another good patient, right? But we're crippling all that and the opportunities, for that when we don't have a strong team and we don't work off that servant leadership model. And it's a shame because it could easily, with a little bit of massaging, it could easily be done. And it just takes a little effort and the right team members.
Yep. In our high impact dentist course, which is a course that teaches dentists how to become better leaders and how to become productive. Dentists who take the course, their productivity goes up anywhere from 15 to 25%, sometimes even more. But one of the key lessons there is that if we're going to have a team, we have to play by the same rules. So I don't care if you're a hygienist or you're a dentist, any other role on the team, we got to play by the same rules because we're on the same team. And it's such an important lesson because anytime someone feels like they're special or extraordinary or better than, that's when teamwork starts to break down. When teamwork starts to break down, communication breaks down. When communication breaks down, ultimately the end result is that the patient experience suffers, right? And we've all been in some place like you're talking about, Jim, where you can tell the team is not getting along. There's friction between the team. It's so uncomfortable. And, we had an experience with our vet where that was the case. And my wife was basically taking the dogs to the vet, and she kind of was more tolerant about it. I went one time and I said, that's it. We're going to change, because that is, or I asked her if she would mind if we changed, more accurately, because I really felt like that kind of atmosphere was going to affect the care that they provide. And so it's really important that these teamwork things are worked out in a healthy way.
And I love what you said too, Jim, where you said basically it is a choice, right? We do choose how we show up. And sometimes, I feel like there's so much group think in social media where they're like, oh, when somebody has a certain scenario, the responses are always like, get out of there. You deserve more than that. All of those types of comments. But your point in really the expression, what goes around comes around. It is true. And it really is. If that's what you're putting out, then chances are, you're shorting yourself at some point in the future, right?
Oh, 100%, Wendy, 100%. I like to tell the audiences and people just in conversations like this, it starts every day with you. It's choices that you make. It's your attitude. And then barring some unforeseen circumstance, barring some catastrophic thing, barring you truly being sick or a relative, or close friend truly being sick, barring those things, right? We choose our attitude each and every day. Each and every day. You choose your attitude, whether you're going to help or hinder, part of the problem, part of the solution. It sounds a little cliche, but cliches are true, right? They're there because there's a meaning in the steps. It's not difficult, really, to do. It takes just as much energy to be a pain in the than as it does to be nice. It takes just as much energy either way, to be able to do that. And I don't understand why people would say it's not my job instead of how can I help?
Yeah.
You just get started and step in, right? We all have a part to play. We do. I'm sure there's plenty of doctors and team members here on this call that'll be watching the Super Bowl in 2 weeks, or they watched the playoffs, this past
Go
Sunday.
Chiefs.
And go. We'll talk about my beloved Bengals another time.
Sorry, Jim. I forgot you were a Bengals fan. Sorry, I wouldn't have rubbed it in if I'd remembered. Sorry.
Congratulations. I just wonder what the chief paid those referees. That's all. That's all. Congratulations to the Chiefs. That's a big win. It'll be a great Super Bowl. But everybody, you can't always be Patrick Mahomes. You can't all be Andy Reid's, the head coach and the quarterback for the teams. You can't always be the owner of the teams. You can't have all that. We all have a part to play. And what people don't see is the NFL teams have something called the practice squads, right? And they're the guys that don't make the 53-man roster, as they're called. Well, they play an integral part in the practice sessions every single week and what goes on and for those preparations for the games. And without that, and without stepping in and being there to go, it's amazing what can end up happening in the preparation for it. So we all have a part to play. We can't all be the CEO. We can't all be the senior executive of sales for a major corporation, but every part that everybody plays makes a huge difference in the outcome. And that's what we're looking for. And I think that's something that the dentist could do a lot better at in terms of the outcome. Why are you doing what you do? People go to work for money, for a paycheck. Yes, of course. But they'll run through that wall behind you for a purpose, to be a part of something bigger than them. And some people might not be on the team, and maybe they won't be part of that team. But there are team members out there who would trade a few dollars an hour or more to be on a team and run through a wall for a purpose than there are who just trade time for money.
What a great message this is going to be. And, it's such a great opportunity for us to bring you to this audience. And it's such an important message. And so, Jim, thank you so much for being on this episode. It was absolutely fantastic. For more information on the summit, you can go to championsofdentistrysummit.com, right, Wendy?
It's championsofdentistry.com.
Okay, very good. Champions of Dentistry. The meeting's going to be in Orlando. It's going to be an amazing meeting, but you also can attend virtually. For those of you who have a hard time traveling, or a team size so big that it doesn't make sense, it's something you can do together as a team. And we look forward to seeing you at the summit. We also look forward to seeing you on the next episode of the Double Your Production podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dr. John. Thanks, Wendy.
Thanks, Jim.